Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Unite. Kirk doobsnax Dubé, and today I have iClen Gaming's own Untamed the Great UTG. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited.
I am glad you carved out time. I was kind of concerned with the big, I think it's almost exactly 12-hour time gap. I was like, well, it's kind of in the middle of the day, and it turns out you might just be using your lunch hour to be here with me.
Yeah, exactly. I booked out an hour meeting time, important, and yeah, excited.
Before we get into what you're actually taking an hour away from, I like the first thing I like to ask the gamer tag, Untamed the Great. Where does that come from?
All right, so this it was originally Untamed back in the when I first kicked off in Dota. My playstyle was very wild. I took high risk, high reward plays, and then at some point I got really good at Dota, and some people would start saying, "Oh, Untamed the Great, Untamed." So it became a thing, and I would scream that sometimes when I would make crazy plays on Dota, and it just became kind of a meme, a thing. And so now, they call me Untamed the Great, Untamed UTG, whatever, and that's how it all came together, and I just stuck with it.
I do love a good acronym. Like UTG is like slick to say to begin with, and then like Untamed the Great is also good, and then Untamed is solid too. So that's just multi-layer branding
All
there that
layers,
you've just kind of
all
hit a
layers,
home run on.
all layers. I love it. Slick like my hair. All layers.
Just slick back and extra smooth. Let's go. UTG is here. And you brought it up, and it's exactly where I wanted to kind of kick this thing off because I kind of feel like it's we'll say the launching point into your now Pokemon Unite, esports career. You started in Dota. You cut your chops, in Dota. How did you even get into Dota, and how did you ascend to a level? It's like, all right, Dota Pro, let's get after it.
Yeah, so it was a funny transition. I actually started off playing Counter-Strike back at the internet cafes when I was younger, and then on the other one half you'd see people playing Counter-Strike. On the other half, I'd see people playing this game, Warcraft and whatnot. I realized that they were playing Dota, and that was Dota 1 back in the day before Valve picked it up. So I slowly transitioned away from Counter-Strike, moved on to Dota 1, and I really enjoyed it. It quickly became pretty addicting. I've got easily over 10,000 hours combined on both Dota 1, Dota 2, and whatnot. So yeah, it was basically the early days at the Netcaf, and ultimately I just stuck to the game. And then I heard there was an announcement of Dota 2 coming out in early 2011, 2012. I can't remember the exact date, and naturally, everybody got off Dota 1 and moved over to Dota 2, and that's how I kind of, yeah, that was my start off, I'd say.
Um, so obviously your game interest was high. Was Dota the first MOBA you've played? I mean, I know it was kind of like ahead of the curve in terms of that style of game, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the first one you touched.
For me, it was definitely the first one I touched. I had no idea what a MOBA was. I just saw the game. There was a bunch of heroes, started playing, clicking, and it was the only MOBA I stuck to. I think I played League of Legends for 1 month, and I quickly hit high diamond, I think, or something like that. And it just wasn't for me, League of Legends. So I quickly went back to Dota. I was like, man, I missed this game. But yeah, that was the only MOBA basically.
So let me pick that apart real quick. What to you made Dota more interesting than League of Legends? Because obviously, League is something I'm familiar with. I am tangentially familiar with Dota 2 just because of following like OG and kind of like their
Oh
crazy run, like that kind of
love it.
story written in the stars that like you can't really top, right? That's just it's so good, it's almost fiction.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Dota 2 versus League of Legends split.
Yeah, I think mechanically Dota's a much more difficult game. There's a there's a lot more things that you can do. There's much more spells, and I think League of Legends felt very repetitive to me. I'd pick my ADC. I was playing Tristana like crazy, and I got quite good at that champion or hero. But it just felt really repetitive. It didn't feel like the game would go the same way. Farm as many creeps as you can. I can't even remember the objectives in that game. What are they called?
Towers.
Not the towers, but the ones that give you those buffs. The
Oh yeah,
massive.
yeah, yeah.
So
There's like the purple dragon, right? Yeah.
yeah, the purple jet. Yeah, it just got repetitive for me, and then at some point I was like, it just keeps feeling the same, no matter what role I put myself in. So ultimately, I went back to Dota because it felt like I can do more, I could achieve more, and I think I also kind of had got close to the Dota community in our region as well. So I was kind of missing that, so there's a bit of that too.
Baron, by the way, is what that dragon
Baron,
is called.
that's it. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was gonna get that.
I don't know why I couldn't think of it. It's not coming to me.
I almost feel like once it slipped out of your mind, like I had no chance.
It was out of your
no shot.
I know how that feels.
Well, you made your way back to Dota. Dota 2 came out. You obviously kind of jumped in both feet right into that. No delay, no hesitation. I mean, you're an ex-Dota pro, which means you scaled up and you did good. So what was that process like in a game that had a deeper rooted system than, let's say, like Pokemon Unite, where almost anyone out of the gate could have said, hey, Pokemon Unite Pro, after finishing well in one big event? You really had to sink your teeth into this game and spend, like you said, 10,000 plus hours in getting to the point where you can consider yourself that.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting process. At the start, I was just playing for fun, but then I think naturally I'm a very competitive person. I'm extremely competitive, and I wanted to build the best team I could actually build within New Zealand, within Auckland. That was my goal, to have everybody local. So once I did start to build my team iClen out, naturally we started entering competitions, and then one day there was this competition that came to Oceania, and if you came first, there was an international trip to compete in Korea against all the top Southeast Asia teams and whatnot. So we saw that opportunity, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. Maybe I have to step it up a little bit more and get the guys together. Let's give this a real shot and see, because this could turn into something great. And we really grinded. We put everything in, and we won it. So that's kind of how it worked out naturally.
So was it kind of a cart before the horse situation? When I say that, I mean a lot of esports teams try and get a little footing, get a little momentum, try and pick up some sponsorships and kind of keep the train rolling that way. But it sounded for iClen and kind of what you're all like, look, we're gamers just getting together, let's try and win one and convert this thing in from kind of what is maybe a little less tangible into a reality by delivering big.
Yeah, your second point, exactly. We didn't have any sponsors at all, and the organization that was hosting the tournament, they offered flights and accommodation if you qualified. So it was natural, and we all stuck to it, and it turned out to be pretty cool. But yeah, again, no sponsors at the time, and we stuck to the same name. It was iClen the whole way.
So did any sponsorships follow to help support the squad, making this journey to Korea to square off against the South Asian squads?
I think that there were quite a couple of sponsors that reached out at the time, but if you look at the value that they added, we didn't really see much of what they did add. I mean, yeah, a lot of sponsors these days as well, you got to be careful. They do want to take a slight cut of your winnings, and it's like, well, okay, well, what do you offer us? We'll give you some exposure here. We'll do this and that. So there was nothing that really jumped out to us and say, oh, we actually want a sponsor, especially if flights and accommodation are covered. What else on top of that could you offer? So we just declined all of them when they came through.
Well, you like that because when you keep the things close to the chest, you can control the direction of the group within
Absolutely.
the group and kind of democratically choose your trajectory, right? You can't just add into the meal a new ingredient and expect to have as good of results as if you just learned it on your own. So tip of the cap to you. So you guys go to this tournament. Tell me about this tournament real quick, just kind of your first foray into we'll say the world at large of the Dota 2 community.
So first thing was first time in Korea. We were looking around. It was just whoa. It's a whole different world out here. Yeah, down here in New Zealand, man, our air is pretty fresh. We've got just greenery everywhere. And then we got to Korea and it's like, oh, chuck on the mask. And this is mind you, this is pre-COVID, so we weren't used to all of that. It was very busy, very crowded. Uh, got to the hotel, got used to it. Then they took us on a bus. They drove us straight to this massive, probably one of the biggest stadiums I've ever seen, this event, and they had just thousands of computers all laid out, a stage where you saw all. I'd imagine Pokemon might have something like that, but just a massive stage, and it was very organized. Hey, you guys are going to sit here. Just the lighting, just everything. It was just quite overwhelming, actually.
So once you kind of got over the shock and awe, how was the overall experience? I'm not talking about results. I'm just talking about like getting to be there, getting to compete, getting to be in this big time stadium under the lights. How did all that feel?
It felt quite surreal and really amazing. I know a lot of the guys on my team and myself really excited to just perform and give it our all. It was definitely a different feeling from versing teams online. When you're in the local area and you can see your opponent right there, just 5 meters down the line with their team. It's a completely different feeling. I think nerves can also come into play in terms of performance. It's you're in front of people. People are watching you. People can walk past you. Yeah, you can hear noises left, right, and center. So it's a completely different environment. But again, we were I was just feeling really excited and hyped at the same time.
So you complete this kind of international event run. You get to be under the lights. Now you're back home, and iClen, what's next, right? What were you all thinking coming back? Was it like, hey, where's our next opportunity? Let's make a big push. Was it that was kind of our flash in the pan? Let's switch gears. Bring us from that event to the start of the iClen Pokemon Unite foray.
Yeah, so right after that, we took a break naturally because it was quite intense. The coming up to the event and then actually competing there. Then the next year came along, and it was the same organizers, and it was the same. We qualified again to go to China. So yeah, we were ready. We brought the guys back. We practiced, and we qualified to go to China. That was crazy as well. It was once we got home after China, there was which was in early 2018. We just all took, I'd say, what year is it? 2022. We took 4 years break. We took a 4 year break from competitive gaming. I think some of the guys jumped on RuneScape. I played different games. I played casually Dota here and there, and then I realized, man, I'm getting pretty old. Like, I'm closing in on 30 soon, and I'm gonna buy a Nintendo Switch. Because I'm gonna be like, I just want to be a retired Mario Kart gamer. This brain has been used too much on Dota and competitive. I am going to just chill and play kid games and just So I buy it, and then I have a barbecue one day, and Curry Puffs comes along. Curry Puffs is one of my team members, and he says, "Hey, look, there's have you played Pokemon Unite on the Switch?" I was like, "Oh, what's that?" It's a MOBA. I was like, "Oh, okay. There's a MOBA on a Pokemon on a Nintendo Switch, like a controller." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." We talk about it. Then he brings up the fact that there's a 500,000 USD dollar tournament. This is in December 2021, by the way. I'm like, "Wait, what?" I was like, so I was like to him, maybe we give it a shot. What do you reckon? Should we bring it back? Should we bring it back? And he's like, we just laughed and we forgot about it. January comes along, mid-January, and I'm playing on the Switch, and I read somewhere an article about this tournament actually happening. It's coming to fruition, and I'm like, oh my god. And I had played Pokemon Unite a few times coming up to that, so I was like, man, I'm gonna call the boys, iClen boys, and let's see if we can give this a shot. So I give them a call, and I was like, guys, we should just give this a go. We might win, we might not, but let's just give it our best shot. And so they didn't ask questions. Majority of them, they all just bought Switches. And late January, we started the grind. It was just, that's literally how it kicked off. Late January, so 3 weeks before the first qualifier, the Feb Cup, I believe. That's how it kicked off for us.
Wow. Okay, so I don't want to get in the weeds too much about iClen's path to success here, because we all know how it ended. You're going to Worlds. You're representing your region as the only representative, so you're carrying a torch, but not a success that iClen is unfamiliar with at this point. First off, where can I get my iClen jersey? That's what I'm saying. So, we'll talk offline. We're going to get that sorted out, guaranteed.
Absolutely.
But just tell me just real quick the kind of quest from like, okay, mad grind, here we go. We got, 6 months to sort it out. And of course, you completely delivered. What were the ups and downs, just kind of some highs and low points throughout that? Because I'm going to be honest, growing, outsider, kind of somebody without the finger on the pulse of OCE would look at them like, oh, it's ground zero from top to bottom. Let's just kind of pack it up, ship it, and kind of look off to the left here. But 1620 Kings and iClen we're not willing to go down without a fight. And of course, you two are the ones standing in the grand final. So kind of give me that path forward here.
It was very interesting. A lot of learnings along the way. I think the first thing was bringing the team back together and getting everybody on the right state of mind to accept that for the next 4 months that this is going to be a real grind. It was a bumpy road. I'll tell you, it was a bumpy road. We started off really well, then it came really down during the AOS Cup period. COVID hit a few of us, and we didn't perform well because we had the wrong mindset. But I truly believe that AOS Cup loss that we had allowed us to change the way that we think. We changed our mindset from being we're unstoppable, we're the best, we're Dota players, blah 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 blah, to, well, you know what? Anybody can beat us on any given day. We just have to put in our best effort, try our best, and see what the result is at the end of the day. As long as we know we tried our best, we can be happy with that. So after we changed our mindset post AOS Cup, we started to see better results. And again, there were a lot of arguments on the way. There were a lot of disagreements, and that's where Zagrug came in and helped us kind of clear the lines in terms of understanding the perspective on the game, how to look at the game, where we're strong, where we're weak. And I think Zagrug coming in at some points as a coach really assisted us in terms of mindset and how to go about the game in certain ways.
I love seeing that cross-region support, whether you went and sussed out Zagrug or Zagrug came to you, regardless of how that communication started. It's also very easy for people to say, like, nope, there's a potential you're going to be my competition later down the line. Like, I'm not looking to give any free handouts anywhere. So I think that just in and of itself is a hallmark to, some of the more positive aspects of this community. What's your role just in the Dota 2 crew, the iClen squad, and now the Pokemon Unite iClen squad? Not only just positional role, I mean, I don't know what it is, but some people at home may not have watched the OCE or have not been keeping track of iClen. And is that rooted in what you played when you were playing Dota?
It was. So obviously I'm the jungle role in Pokemon, but my role within the team is I am the team captain, and I kind of bring the team together, make sure we're all on the same page, give direction, and really just sometimes, not all the time, I try to lead the team in a democratic way. But if there's disagreements, I'll make the final call in terms of how we're going to go about playing the game, or how we're going to go about which Pokemons we pick and whatnot. But yeah, bringing the team together, leading, and helping us all collectively just be on the same page. That's my role.
Are you shot calling for the squad?
I am shot calling, but I think collectively we shot call a lot in the games, because I can't see everything that's going on at bot or top. Sometimes Sheep at home, the attacker will see an opportunity, he'll make a call, and we just all go with it. But ultimately, if it's in the last 2 minutes, sometimes I'll make the call to either rep or team fight and whatnot. But I think it's a collective thing. But ultimately, I shot call more than the others do.
I gotcha. Is that everybody kind of shot calls, and then there's like, you have the unanimous power to override? Like if somebody says, like, I think this is a team fight here, if you just say, nope, we're not doing that, I'm not following in, does everybody just go, okay, that's the breaks?
No, it's not like that. I think a lot of us have played together enough games to be on the same page with the majority of the decisions. And so yeah, it doesn't go like that. It's just more of a collective kind of thing. But there have been times if I do call it early enough to say no, we're not doing that, and then we'd kind of change the course and the direction we've gone. But if my, for example, attack has already jumped in and he's made the shot call, then it's too late. You just got to commit anyway.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the situation.
How much do you think, just on a personal level? I know I said, before we started, I wasn't going to talk to you too much about just the team specifics, but I'm really interested in, the background of yourself, especially with the success you've seen with this team. You said you're responsible for keeping the mental. How important is it to be able to let a loss roll off your back? Is that something that you help the team kind of get across, or is the team, because you guys have so much experience together, just pretty good at that?
I honestly, I haven't taken losses well. I think some of the other members haven't, so I'm not going to say that I'm like untiltable. But I think coming up to regionals, it was very important for us to understand that not everything is going to go our way in a game, and we are going to lose sometimes. However, if we tilt and if we say things that probably isn't beneficial for us to stay in that the right stable headset or the mindset, it's gonna affect our performance. So we in the regionals we didn't drop a single game, but in the finals match we lost one match. We lost one game. We were fine, and we just said, hey guys, let's I said to the team, we expected this. It wasn't going to be easy. We're in the finals. These guys are in the finals for a reason. And we want it to be a challenge to test ourselves, and everybody was happy. We reset, we came into the next game like we didn't lose at all. So it's very important to in terms of not taking a loss too bad.
How important is it for a player such as yourself, that is kind of the team captain, being able to put the team on your back in certain moments? And to me, one that pops into my mind very uniquely and very specific to you is your team kind of had a really great team win at Zapdos against the Kings. I believe it was game 1. It was either game 1 or game 3, but and then the chase on the remaining players for the 1620 Kings gave enough time for them to come off respawn, and then they just kind of like counter team wiped you because you guys were all so low, right? I even think one of your players might have gotten chipped up by the Zapdos, but the credit for the KO was given to the Greedent or something. And then here comes Untamed the Great. Just a couple Dragon Dances and a Hyper Beam seals it up, and then you guys were able to convert that into a big win. What was that moment like? Because I mean, at that point in time, it's on you, right? The chances aren't high, but you got to make a play, and you completely deliver for the squad on the biggest stage that you guys have seen so far. I mean, what was happening in that moment?
Yeah, that was game 1. That was crazy, by the way. And please nerf Greedent, because Greedent shouldn't be able to 1v5 like that. But that moment felt amazing, and it's so important to keep your mental state stable during those situations, because there's always a way to win. Especially in this game, there's always a way to win, and your chances might get lowered every time, but there's always a way to win. And so I remember that moment. The Greedent came and he bought enough time. I had to reset. As I came back, pretty much the whole team was dead, and I was just there in front of 4 people. I just stayed calm, and I said, let's just believe in myself. Dragon Dance, here we go. And it landed, and I was like, oh, okay, time to score. So it felt amazing, and I really try to keep my mental state stable.
I'm glad I got to talk to you about that. I was watching that again today. I caught the tail end of the broadcast the day of, and then I wanted to revisit that because I remember I was like, something nutty happened, and I'm pretty sure it was UTG, but I don't want to come in with a fuzzy memory. So I actually ended up watching all of the grand finals over again, and it was just a very dominant performance. Especially after game 2. I almost feel like game 1 was like, okay, we got away with one. Game 2 was like, okay, it's almost like rust was being shaken off a little bit. Like the Kings had played more games kind of more recently, so they were a little bit more fresh. Games 3 and 4 seemed like just absolute smackdowns. Anyways, You guys represent OCE. You win. We know the story of iClen. Let's talk about Untamed a little bit more. You mentioned that I'm catching you kind of on your lunch break here. What's Untamed's day to day, UTG's day to day when you aren't grinding Pokemon Unite and getting ready for Worlds?
Yeah. By the way, I've got plenty of time, Doobs. I booked out my calendar for the day just for you. So I am a cyber operations manager. I manage a team of 10, a mixture of security engineers and security analysts. And my job is to protect our hospitals in New Zealand from getting hacked. We look after the 4 largest hospitals in New Zealand. We've got hundreds of thousands of users to protect, and it's a really cool field to be in, really rewarding, and being in this field in health is what I'm passionate about. So that's kind of what I do, and that's what keeps me busy.
So when you're talking about both passion in cybersecurity and I believe you said health, was it, hey, I'm interested in the health sector, but this is my skill set, how do I apply it to the health sector? Or was it, I'm really interested in cybersecurity, and then through your interest in cybersecurity, go, you know what, like my true passion is cybersecurity, but for this reason working in the health sector?
Yeah, so a fun fact is originally I wanted to be a doctor, but I suck at chemistry, so I just oh man, I gotta go. I'm good at computers, I'll just stick with that. It was more so me wanting to get into cybersecurity, and then eventually the world found its way to lead me back into the direction of health. And one day an opportunity came up for me to take on this role within the health sector. I was already in cybersecurity at the time. I was like, you know what? I would love to take this role, and so it just worked its way out. It worked its way out in that order.
I'm glad that you find it very fulfilling. It's always good to get fulfillment not from just your hobbies, but also what you do on a daily basis to pay the bills and keep the lights on and all that good stuff. So how long have you been in the field, if you don't mind me asking?
No, absolutely, it's all good. So I think I've been in IT for around 8 to 9 years, something like that, and I've been in security for about 6 years now.
Fair. And who gave you the first shot in security? Is it you found a kind of an entry level job and you just kind of went for it, or you're in an IT role and somebody was like, we need some support over here, UTG, we think you'd be pretty good?
It'd be funny if they called me UTG at the company. So I started off as a basic IT analyst, service desk analyst, resetting passwords, doing really basic troubleshooting for people who weren't as technical on computers. Eventually worked my way up to become a sys engineer. So it took me about 1.5 years to do that as a systems engineer, and that was a more technical role, looking after servers and all that kind of stuff. And naturally, I had, met a lot of people within my company, and one day someone from the security department that I worked with at the service desk asked if I wanted to, they're looking for more security people, asked if I wanted to join them. So that's kind of how it worked out. And I can't stress enough in terms of how important it is to build connections when you work in the corporate world, because you never know, that friend that you made at the entry level role might be the one to call you and bring you into an amazing role a few years down the line.
Networking is king, my friend. Networking is in fact king. So like, how much like the show Mr. Robot is what you do?
About 99%. Absolutely all of it. No, I'm just kidding. Mr. Robot is definitely I love that. I love that series, by the way. It's a little bit more for the entertainment side of things.
What?
But we do have as part of my team, I do have guys that do the penetration testing. We call it the offensive type of security that Mr. Robot can do, but they do it in a good way. They do it for the company, so we can understand where our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses are within the organization, and then we work to remediate those vulnerabilities. So we do have some of those guys, but not as good as Mr. Robot. That guy's amazing, man. I wish my student loan would be removed, but I'm not that good. So,
well, to be fair, they wrote Mr. Robot like that. You have to contend with the real world. That's how that works.
Yeah.
UTG, Pokemon Unite. Well, I have to ask again. Let's go back. Personal question here. What Pokemon, if you could add it to Pokemon Unite, would you add, and what role would it play?
Hitmonlee.
Hitmonlee.
So I love kickboxing. It's one of my hobbies. Do a lot of that, and just Hitmonlee's always been my favorite. When I saw Machamp, the fighting Pokemon, I was so happy. I was like, yes, a fighting Pokemon. Hitmonlee is the one that I beg, and Hitmonchan. Those two, please, can we bring them in? Pokemon, please. I beg you, please.
What is Tyrogue that evolves in it? Maybe you could
Yes,
start with
I
Tyrogue, and then you could pick like
Tyrogue,
an evolution path.
and then yes.
Look at this. Look at us go. Timmy Sudo's Pokemon Unite, if you're listening. Tyrogue evolves into Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee. For UTG, please.
Please.
What is on the docket moving forward leading up to Worlds? How often is iClen grinding it out? How often is it important to just say, hey, we don't want a mental boom here. Let's take a break before we kind of get into this grind. This is something you are personally, and this team is personally experienced through Dota. You know what one tournament to qualify is, and then you know how to get to the world. I mean, you've done it twice, right? You guys just showed up and did it twice, and then you've just done it for a third time in a different game. So what does that preparation look like? Obviously, you know what the secret sauce is in the recipe.
Absolutely. So we've actually just kicked off training yesterday. We're going to be doing 4 to 5 days a week as a 5-stack queuing ladder for, I'd say, 3 to 4 hours. And then 2 weeks before Worlds, we are heading over to Thailand to boot camp there. We're gonna boot camp there for a while, and we're just gonna practice against some of the Southeast Asian teams, Japan, Korea, and then queue the ladder there because I've on it. I feel like it's so competitive in that region, and hopefully, being on green ping will allow us to actually know who's better or how well we're performing. Because a lot of the games these days that we from OC, as you can imagine, are an orange ping. It's painful, and we don't know how well we're performing sometimes because there's a bit of a ping issue involved. So yeah, 2 weeks out, boot camp in Thailand, and then 3 days before Worlds we'll be in London, obviously, and try to get scrims against EU, NA if we're lucky. And that should give us kind of an understanding of the land and understand of our competition. So it's going to be a grind, but at the moment, while we're still in New Zealand, it's going to be 4 days a week. 3 to 4 hours practice is 5 stacking for now.
Is Zugrug making an appearance back in the coaching seat for iClen?
I think at the moment not yet, but we definitely will probably be calling upon him whilst we are boot camping a few times to review a couple of VODs with us. Love his input, and we're very lucky to know that he is actually still coming to Worlds. So going to be amazing. But yes, he will be helping us. Hopefully, if he's free, we'll definitely be reaching out to him.
Again, I love hearing that. I love the cross-regional support for the different teams. UTG.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough for coming by. I'm so excited that you reached out. It kind of everybody's been about iClen this week. I know RT is doing something with you guys. Of course, you're on Zoinks, Overdunk with Zoinks. And I'm just very excited that OCE Region is getting a little bit of shine, specifically the OCE Region representatives, iClen Gaming. And of course, you as kind of the figurehead of that group, not only way back in the stars of Dota 2, but now in Pokemon Unite, really making your all's presence felt. And I really just can't thank you enough for taking the time and stopping by today. I want to ask this of you. The floor is yours. You can shout out and plug anyone you want, but something I am going to ask is that you go ahead and shout out all your teammates as well.
Absolutely. Shout out to iClen, and that was going to be my first shout out. Shout out to the boys. Thank you again for believing in me and coming together and joining me on this journey. It could be our last journey, could be our last run, who knows, but shout out to you guys. Shout out to OCE, shout out to the OCE fans. We've got a great community, very tight-knit. And shout out to our fans outside of the OCE region. Thank you guys for your support, and hopefully we make you guys proud at the world stage.
I'm sure nobody in OC will feel let down by you all as the representatives, and of course, you propping up the region as well you can. It looks like you have a lot of tough work ahead of you because there's a lot of tough teams that are going to be showing up to contend a little bit. again, selfishly, I'm gonna slide back in your Twitter DMs. I need to figure out how to get an iClen gaming jersey. That is,
We'll get one sent down to you. I'll make sure that gets sent down. Don't worry.
we'll sort that out. Okay, I need to take a quick deep breath. I need to plug all my stuff, UTG. So this is where you unfortunately have to sit here and bear with me for a second. First off, follow at Unite Mics on Twitter. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Follow me on Twitter at doobsnax, DOOBSNAX. Follow my PIC, that's Partner in Casting, at Zoinks Casts on Twitter. We do an emote initiative here, so if you support the stream, if you use your Bezos Bucks, your Prime sub, or if you just sub to the channel, obviously you get all our cool emotes, which I'm going to spam in here with such bangers such as Hundo Burgers, Ducats, of course, a couple of emotes there. But what we do at the end of each month, we donate any revenue that we get into the stream to a charity, and then we post that on our Twitter. So we're not trying to make money off this, so we'll give the money back. So if you're worried about where your Prime sub is going, at least you know half of it is going to be donated somewhere to a good cause, and you'll actually see the proof in the pudding there. Plus, you get some cool emotes, so that's dope. Last thing I want to plug, Freestyle USA. It's actually a watch band brand and watch brand that I use quite a bit. They saw our stuff. They like our stuff. They're like, hey, you're ordering our things anyways. Here's a promo code, and I'll throw that in there. But it's SNAX, SNAX. And you get 10% off your order. And, of course, same thing with that. Any profits coming for there, we'll post them, and we'll donate those as well. Personally, I have an Apple Watch, and their bands are $15. So, I mean, that's the product I use. Okay, that's enough shilling. That's enough BS here. UTG, iClen Gaming, they stayed off the sponsorships. Old Snacks can't do it. We're trying to make moves out here. But again, UTG, thank you so much for joining. Thank you everybody for stopping by. This has been Late Night Unite yet again. I'm doobsnax. Peace, love, and hugs. Oh, be safe out there, folks. Be safe out there.
Be safe.